Okay, I've talked a lot about the posture correction we do here. Very common question I get. A lot of people want to know, how long does this take? And it's a really hard question to answer because the answer really is depends. It depends. But I know that's not satisfactory, so I'll still go over the best I can, giving you some rules of thumb, maybe some things that you can expect. Firstly, asking how long it takes to do posture correction is a little bit like walking into the gym and asking them how long it takes to get fit. It really depends on where you're starting from and how far you want to go with it. That being said, we can give you some answers. Just like if you were going to the gym, it really depends on, do you need to lose 100 pounds, or are you just kind of starting at a standard weight and you're trying to look like a fitness influencer, or you're trying to do the whole gamut. It really depends on where you're starting from, where you want to go. But if I had to say for most people, what baskets we can put them on, I will say this. For posture correction, if you're starting anywhere where an average person is, that means when we come in, we're not dealing with major issues like major degeneration. If you're not completely fixated, and you don't have other injuries that we have to work on first, that for most people, we're going to see noticeable results in weeks. So let me first talk about those other conditions. If you have major injuries, a lot of times I have to start working on those before we can really start working on whole body correction. So if you have very bad sciatica or migraines, we don't want to do a bunch of things in the beginning because we might flare those issues, and we might start with symptomatic things first. Okay, so or if you have degeneration, if you have very bad spinal degeneration, a lot of times in the beginning, it takes a little bit of work just to get things to move. Okay, you probably already know if you have those, and it's still worthwhile to come in because we'll get you through that, and the posture correction we can start working on that on the other side. There's some overlap, but that's great because I have people that come in and they might originally come in for headaches or because their back is sciatica pain or other issues, and we start working on this, and by the end they already start to realize, by the end meaning after a few weeks of working on those problems, they already start to realize that they're starting to get some postural benefits. But I'll put that aside because that's very unique to each person. But if someone comes in and they're not symptomatic, they don't have degeneration, they don't have major injuries that we're working on, they just want to come in for their posture, most people from day one to noticing changes is weeks. Meaning some people notice it right away. First 1 or 2 visits, they already notice a change in their posture. For some people, it'll take weeks, and weeks could mean 3 weeks. I would say the majority of people are noticing changes by 2 or 3 weeks. If you're on the slower end of the spectrum, that might be 12 weeks. Again, I have to paint with really broad brushes here because we don't know what we're talking about. But what do I mean by noticing changes? Noticing changes means that it is easier to stand up straight. In fact, it is comfortable. It's default. It's something that a lot of people will tell me something like, they noticed they were walking by a window and they saw the reflection and realized they were standing up straight, or they realized they were sitting at their desk for a long time and they could see their reflection on the computer screen and realize, oh, I'm sitting up straight. People that used to have a difficult time to put themselves into an upright posture and used to be painful realize that it's quite easy. A lot of common one we'll see is that a lot of other people will comment. So they tell me that they see friends or family and friends or family are confused. They say, hey, you look taller, you look different. For most people, that first phase is a few weeks. 3 weeks to 12 weeks. I know that's a big range, but like I said, there's a lot of different scenarios that can come into the office, so that's what you can expect, though. It's not years. The second phase that we can expect is where these changes become more drastic and more permanent. And what I mean by that is in the beginning, sometimes when we first adjust, you might leave the office and it feels good and it kind of settles. And then we do it a little bit more and it gets a little bit better and it kind of settles. But there's a little bit of a ratchet effect. Each time we do it, we're building on a foundation. Some people are very stiff and rigid, so it's harder to get the changes, but they tend to hold them a little bit better. Some people are very flexible and malleable, so they might leave here and it looks fantastic, but it kind of settles in between, and so it takes longer for them to get sustained changes. So if you stay longer, usually in the beginning you want to come a little more often to kind of get those changes. After we've built some of those, I'll have figured you out. We might have to talk about stretches or exercises or ergonomic changes. Those will be unique to you. And then we can also spread the visits out, meaning there's more time in between visits while you work on those things at home. And when you do come in, we're making changes to still build a foundation so you can get more permanent and extended changes. And then some people come in and they say, I want perfect posture. I want to look, it's almost like walking to the gym and looking at the fitness model and saying, I want to look exactly like that. Some people do want that, and that takes years, and which might sound extreme, but it's really not. And here's why. One is if you walked in to the dentist with really bad teeth and you said, "I want perfect teeth," they're going to put you in braces or orthodontics, and that's going to take years. But it's not something you have to deal with every day. It becomes just something that it becomes something that you do on occasion. Meaning, some people come in every, let's say, 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. They get to a point where it's minor changes that we do here, and then we might talk about exercises or stretches they have to do at home on a more regular basis. And they continue to improve until we get to a stage. If you're, usually I say divide your age by 10. If you're 20 years old, in a couple of years, we kind of get to the point where you're at maximum improvement. It's the best that it's ever been. It's the best better than anyone else around you that you know, and that's better than 99% of other human beings. If you're 30 years old, you might expect that point where we run out of stuff to do about 3 years, and so on and so on. That's for the people that are really ambitious. They want to know how long this takes. For most people, what you really want to know is, when can I feel the changes? When can I feel like I'm not struggling with this issue and it's not part of my battle, and I don't have to worry about how I look in photos, and I don't have to worry about how I'm feeling like I'm falling apart at the end of the day at work. That's literally somewhere between weeks and months. Meaning that's when we first start getting those noticeable benefits. For most people, it's in weeks, and it really starts to sustain and become an integral part of your structure within months. That's what most people really care about. And the cool thing about this is it gets easier. Meaning, if I was going to go to the gym and ask how to get fit, I have to keep working all the way till I get to that point where I want to be, and I have to work really hard to stay there. What's cool about this is, in the beginning, you do have to work hard to start to make changes, because posture for most people only goes downhill as they get older and with time. So with this, yes, you do want to turn that boat around. So you do have to put a little more effort into in the beginning, especially if you have stiffness or if you have that hyperflexibility, some of these issues we talked about a second ago. But once you turn this boat around, you can actually start to ease back. We make some lifestyle changes. I will talk to you about those when I figure you out. And then once things are going well, you can actually back off on this care, and they will sustain. And you get to a level where they're good, and you might only need occasional checkups to keep them there. So it's really, really great in that sense. And there's not many things in life where, first of all, if you talk to most medical professionals or healthcare professionals, they say you cannot change your posture. Or they'll say if you do, it's something that you have to remember to do every single day of your life, or you have to do some exercise constantly, or keep something all tense. It's not like that at all. It's something that you can change, and it's something that once you've done it, you can kind of get to the other side where it is something you put in the past. It's something you just now only have to put a little bit of maintenance energy into, and the time to do it is usually now, because the longer you wait, the longer it takes in general, as a rule of thumb.